What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we've got Tom and Dennys on with me. We're going to be discussing UsdChf. You're going to see two different traders, two different perspectives, riding the same trend, making money trading in the same direction. So shut off Facebook, put your phone away, and enjoy today's video. All right, boys. So before we get into the conversation about the UsdChf trade last week on Friday, where you both are going to share your perspectives on that trade, and I think everyone listening is going to find a lot of value in seeing how two different traders approach the same bias, the same trend, and both make money trading in the same direction. But before we get into that, I want to let you know, I put up a poll yesterday. Did you see on my Instagram? And I was asking, hey, what topics do you guys want to hear covered? A lot of people have been asking for interviews with successful, if not funded traders, full-time traders, anyone that's making a living from trading, we would call it. So I think that just us having this conversation today will bring value to the community in general. But I really appreciate you both taking the time to set this up. We want to take this to a live stream eventually, everybody. We would have loved to host this on ASFX TV, which is our newest service here at ASFX. So if you guys haven't heard about this, Tom, Dennys, and myself, along with James and Jerome, are streaming almost every day throughout the week at different times in the day, as we're all located all over the world. And we're sharing how we see the market. Dennys is doing swing trading. I'm live trading the New York session. Tom's doing a market recap. So everyone brings value from a different perspective to really shortcut your learning curve, because I think a lot of people take a course and then they are like left hanging. Now with ASFX TV, I'm sure the boys will agree with me, we're kind of giving you that second piece of the puzzle to really bring the whole thing. You learn the information from us in the courses, and now you can see it applied live, kind of like what you're going to see today with different perspectives from Tom, from Dennys, from Jerome, from me. And that's what I think can help, like I said, shortcut that learning curve for you guys faster. So if you want to try ASFX TV, it's totally free, 3-day free trial. I'll put a link in the description, or just go to www.asfx.tv. So boys, now that my little sales pitch is done, are we excited for today's video?
Can't wait. Let's get it on.
You know,
yes, sir.
I'd like to take this to a live stream. I have a call with Natalie, the girl from our Uscreen platform, later today, that hopefully we can learn how to have 2 people, 3 people streaming live at once in ASFX TV. And then we won't have to do these and put them out on YouTube. They'll be just in our back end for our users. So hopefully that will come, but I think this is still going to be valuable. So I know, Tom, you're going to share your screen and we're going to dive in here with the UsdChf trade. And I think the appropriate place to start would maybe just be having you guys, before we even share the screen, talk us through what you saw in a short little summary really quick before we jump in. Whichever one of you would like to go first. Tom, if you'd like to kick it off.
Yeah, absolutely. So if I I've started to incorporate some of the higher timeframes into my trading, and I've been looking at the 1 hour, 4 hour, and daily 21 EMAs and 8 EMAs. We know in ASFX that we put a lot of weight behind them, and we're looking to ride the trends. So by incorporating the higher timeframes, I'm trying to catch longer pieces of moves, but I'm taking my entries, as we teach in the ASFX courses, on the 15-minute time frame to try and get that pinpoint entry. And then I'm just trying to ride the higher time frame shifts.
Makes sense.
Yeah, I think I'm trying to get as many people on my side and in my trades as possible. So I want the larger banks, I want the corporations, I want all the retail traders trading in the same direction as me, which is why I'm putting a little bit more emphasis on the higher timeframes.
And a lot of trend lately behind USD, correct?
Absolutely, yeah.
Super.
Yeah. So Dennys, give us your take on the trade. Which one of you guys entered the trade first?
I have no idea, but
okay, so we're going to find out in a second. All right, good.
We're going to find out when we're
was anything else you'd like to add to the thoughts that went into the bias and that went into your analysis before we get into it, D?
So yeah, like before, so I used to trade, the ASFX strategies. I'm still using them, but I used to trade lower time frames like D1s, D2s, and A1s. And honestly, I'm always honest, I suck at D1s. For some reason, I know how to read them.
It's okay. Tom sucks at A1s, right, Tom? Like, it's okay. Yeah, I suck at D2s, exactly. Bro. We all got to suck at something.
Yeah, exactly. So I started noticing that a lot of losses were D1s, and I'm like, why? But then I saw a lot of winners with A1s, but then I saw more winners with the 1 hour. I'm like, there's something here. That's when I started looking from higher time frames analysis, from monthly, weekly, daily, 4 hour, 1 hour alignment. That's when I take my trades in the 1 hour. 15-minute, I use it for my timing to not go against the trend when I'm taking an entry. I use the 15-minute, but my analysis and entry are most coming from the 1 hour.
Cool. Okay.
And the entry for me on USDCHF was 1 hour timing.
1 hour. And Tom, where did you take entry on this one? 15
Actually,
minute?
no, it was a day trade because it was a Friday.
So you both were on 15-minute, right? Because it was on a Friday. Yeah. So that makes sense. Because now, to be clear, I'd like to hear both of your takes on this. Would you swing trade a position that you put on a Friday and hold it into next week?
I don't do that.
No, I wouldn't. No.
Okay. Me neither. I'm just making sure that we're all on the same page on that. All right, cool. All right, Tom, you want to throw your screen up and let's get into it. I'd love to hear, we'll just pass it to Tom again. Tom, you want to walk us through and then maybe just give some space in between your comments in case me or Dennis has questions, or if Dennis wants to chop in anywhere and kind of give his take on it too. And then we'll throw it back to Dennis as we piece Tom's whole idea together. So we can see, I want to really just pick at where you both got in, why you got in, and where you looked at the risk. Where was the stop loss? Because we can read risk everywhere, but I think that that identifying entry and risk, and then we'll talk about potential profit, but that's bigger picture.
Yep. 100%.
Yeah, let's go with that. So can you see my screen at the minute? Can you see USDCHF?
Yeah, you want to close the watch list to the right just to give us some more space on that too? Perfect.
Yeah. Are we good?
Perfect. Yeah, font looks good. Cool. Everything looks good.
Right, let me just move you out.
Damn, bro, it's 9 degrees Celsius out there. Jeez, bro. And look how I look so tan. My forehead is like reflecting, and you got 9 degrees. I'm sorry, bro. Fuck.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So this is USDCHF, and I was looking for longs on this pair when I arrived at the desk, and you'll see that we've got the full trending EMAs on the 15-minute. And as I've already said, I did my higher time frame analysis. So I know that the 1 hour, 4 hour and daily were also in an uptrend. And that's because over the last sort of 2 weeks, you can see how we've been trending from this bottom left corner to this top right. So we're definitely in an uptrend, creating higher highs and higher lows. So I've got my bias set in there, and then I'm looking for intraday entries using the ASFX entries. Now, the first one that presents is my favorite ASFX entry, which is the D1. It's the one that I seem to find the most success with. And that starts off at the end of the Asian session into the London session, where on the 15-minute we get, or on the 1 minute even, we get this bullish divergence set in. So that starts me off to look for the first initial long entry that I take. I do take 2 long entries on this during the Friday, but the first one was definitely the D1. So I go through the rest of my setup and checklist, which I do. I've got that printed out in front of me, and I go through a markup before I enter every trade, just to make sure that I'm as consistent on every entry. And by going through that checklist, and I go through the markup. So we've got the perfect L50, which is this yellow line here, which is in the buy zone all day because it's got a value above 50 EM50 on the TDI.
Sure.
Space to ADR. So we can't see ADR. So we know that we've got space to ADR when we get at the risk reward. The Asian range is broken when I take my entry. So I take my entry on this breakout of this zone at around about 95,450. And there is no divergence because we've not got price action higher with the falling TDI on the RSI.
Right.
Or the RSI on the TDI.
Right.
And then I go down onto the 1 minute and find the 1 minute 50 EMA retest when we get this pin to the 21 EMA. Do you want me to go down to that 1 minute, or are you happy?
No, I think we can kind of understand it just from seeing the 15-minute. In relation to this, Dennis, just so we know, were you in the trade at this point already, or were you?
No, because I am sleeping at that time.
Okay.
So when I woke up, I saw the breakup. I saw the breakup that he's talking about. So he was already in before I was in.
Makes sense. Sure. Okay. When you look at this setup, Tom, I know we're not talking about today's trade, but just talking to you, like that 50 EMA retest there is just like the one that you traded today on the same pair, isn't it?
Yeah, pretty similar.
Similar. So do you always find your best D1s off the 50 EMA? That was my question that I was getting to.
On the 1 minute or the 15 minute?
On the 15 minute. Are you finding that the best D1s come off the 50? Are you trading it off another EMA, the 21, the 200? Where are the best D1s for you?
So for me, I'm definitely taking them off this 50 EMA.
Okay.
And for me, I have my own rule where it has to body the 50 EMA. I have
Close a
taken
body
them
through.
Yes, it has to. So that to me just signals that that pullback has completed. I've taken some entries where they're in between the 21 and the 50. But for me, it has to body this. But yeah, I'm finding the most success taking it off here instead of say a little bit later with the D1 here. I don't take this entry as a D1, but I do enter here. But it's off a different signal, different stop loss placements, and then different risk.
So just to not to go too far off topic, but I'm curious for both of you, when you now have a systematic approach where we're naming entries as A1, D1, A2, and all this, can you think back to before you had a rules-based approach with predetermined entry signals? Could you speak on it in any way to like a new trader that doesn't have those rules of like how important it would be to be able to find a system and a signal that when this presents, this is what I'm taking? D, you want to speak on that, or Tom?
Yeah.
Good,
so before I joined ASFX, I was using another method, and the method didn't have a name or like a play. But it did have like parameters to look for and entry signals and stuff like closely to ASFX. Honestly, it just wasn't a system that I was very like interested in trading when I started trading it. And when I found out ASFX, I kind of like it more because it was more flexible in terms of like you got the A1, but there's different entries in the A1. Like there's a shift candle, there's 2 candle, 3 candle, and so to be flexible like that, I kind of like that. So having a specific system that gives you that flexibility, but it's still consistent. That's what I like, and to follow it every single time the same way. It is what I like, kind of like change the way I approach the market and take my trades.
Tom, anything you'd like to add on that?
Yeah, so I do remember when I was trading without rules, and I'll just say it was carnage. It was an absolute free for all. And so coming to ASFX and learning a strategy that you can go and back test, you can confirm it. And by having set rules on when something is on edge or not, it allows us to react to price and not forecast. I feel that personally, I'm very binary. I like it to be if A happens, then I do B. And it leaves no doubt in my mind when I have to enter a trade by having rules. So it's a huge, huge help for me having rules to trade off instead of just guessing when to take trades.
Great answer. So back to the chart here, and like I said, well said, Tom. In relation to where Tom took his position on that 8 EMA pin pullback, Dennis, how much later were you in on the trade? Are you in on that breakout off the zone? So
if we go back to the first breakup, which is the Asian session breakup, exactly. You see that extension higher high of that Asian outside of the range completely. So that's when I woke up, when it was at the high. So, but the trend, when I'm looking at the weekly, daily, and my higher time frames, I'm still interested. I'm like, I don't think this is done yet. This is an initial breakup. So I'm just going to wait for a proper pullback and a continuation of this breakup. So where Tom took his second entry on the A2, I didn't take an entry there. I saw the continuation of that zone that he has, that resistance broken, tested, and moved. And you see it's not off the 21 EMA, right? Not really. It is coming off the 21 level, but not really off the 21. But for me, with the optimization that I did with the system, that's the 34 EMA.
Because you can see,
so the 30 on ASFXTV.
So and that's what you were talking about even this morning. So like in between the 21 and the 50 is like the 34 cloud.
34 EMA cloud.
So this is coming off the cloud, which is also that same resistance zone that was earlier resistance, now support. Okay, I like that. That makes a lot of sense.
And I see that move of the 3450 cloud and 21 level with a proper RSI value too, to go long at the close. I place my long, but my stop loss, this is where I will say I messed up a little bit. Because I'm thinking swing trade on a Friday, and that was a mistake. It's a Friday, so I was day trading this. So if you, Tom, get like a horizontal level if you want, and put my first risk level on the chart below the first shift candle,
Here?
No, the first one, Asian session.
Yeah, down here,
Yeah.
And get the number, put it, so my stop loss was below that support, like an ADR, let's say, kind of like number.
Yeah.
And I put my first stop loss there for my entry on the continuation.
Right.
But
there.
I noticed ATR, exactly, a little bit lower, so they can see exactly where I put my stop, right there, something like that. Yep. So my stop loss was there and my entry was there. And I realized after I was in the trade, I'm like, oh no, but this is a day trade. And let me see ATR, because I use my stop losses. I use ATR to measure my stops. So I went with 0.5 risk, right? But then I noticed, no, this is a new higher low in continuation. This there's a new stop loss. So my new stop loss was below. I immediately put up the stop, go higher now to 95379. 9.379. Something like that, somewhere there. Then I moved from 0.5, I moved it up based on volatility and the new play. And now my risk was caught in a third. So I'm like, okay, I'm mitigating risk anyways. So
it
that's
makes sense.
Good. So
and
now
that's
I'm
why
going
you
to
didn't
manage
get stopped
this.
out on that pin.
No, exactly.
Right.
I didn't
Now,
get
Tom,
stopped out on the pin.
At that point, were you out of the second trade when that pin presents, when it comes down towards Dennis's stop loss? So you're in there on that green indicator for the A2, right?
I am. Yeah, so I get in here as we hold this on here. I put my stop underneath this pin here as this pullback, which is very similar to Denny's. Yeah. And I think I did get one R on this push up before I got back tapped out at break even. So yeah, I did get tapped out on that pin back into break even on that trade. Yeah,
makes sense. Do you think when you look at reads like this, and of course this is a Friday, so it definitely is a little bit different, but is there any, like, as we're developing the A2, and a lot of people follow us in ASFX TV to stay up to date on the A2 as we're building this new strategy. Because remember how much backtesting has gone in years of trading too, of the A1, the D1, and the D2. The A2 is going to take some time. So people are following along and they're wondering as we build the A2, like what can make it better. And I think a lot of us are still, and I know you see it too, Tom, you see the A2, it puts you in the position of a shift, and locking the stop too soon sometimes does take you out of missing out of a lot of potential profit. So we still have some refining to do, but do you ever think about that when you have a trade like this? Like, how could I have stayed in this for the full shift to the end of the day? Or should I have gotten back in? Like,
so that's exactly why I wanted to discuss this on stream with Dennys, and who's using the higher timeframes, because if we look at the 22nd where we took this entry,
not the 22nd chart, the date of the 22nd,
the date of the 22nd. Yeah. So when we took this entry around here, which is what I think this candle, that might have been the candle that you took, Dennys, around here, this has continued to just rise higher and higher.
Rise. Look at that thing,
and
bro.
This is what I think we need to be taking advantage of to get them super performance, the market wizards. This is what they're holding on to. And by using them higher time frame analysis and seeing how Dennys is swinging these entries will allow us, as the sort of people that are taking it on the 15-minute and the day trades, to getting them sniper entries to hold these for longer and find the confidence, because we all know it's so hard to hold our winners and cut our losers short, but it's just something we've got to study and get better and practice at. And it's through the sessions like this, where we can study it and think, right, well, next time this presents, I'm going to do this slightly different, or leave just a tiny piece on to ride this shift.
And, you know, when you look at these, especially like seeing those A2 indicators on there, the only thing on the 1 hour that it makes me think about is, like, on a pair like this, that, you know, I'm not a big fan of CHF only because it does move sideways. Would you have seen more clean or a more quick to move in profit trend if you were trading this on like a A2 trend on GJ? You know what I'm saying? Like a bullish trend on GJ that moves 7% in a month. Like, that's the kind of thing where I think we will find the best opportunities, because you're going to get the volatility and you're going to get the movement that you need, and you're still going to find A2 entries there. So that's why I'm excited to do some backtesting this weekend. I'm going to spend some time backtesting on the 1 hour. I want to do Bitcoin and the indices on the 1 hour and see what that looks like. I think there's just a ton of potential for price action strategies like this, because even now, seeing how you two are looking at the same bias, reading it the same way, it's not rocket science to come up with the trend. Then it's about the hardest part in trading is not reading indicators. It's timing. It's finding the right timing. So even here now, we can refine that question of timing down into trade management, Tom. So like you said, using the higher timeframes to say, maybe I shouldn't lock my stop on this at 1R. Maybe just take some off and trust this structural level and see if we can get more movement. Maybe not on a Friday. Maybe you talk yourself out of it. Like, of course, there's other factors, but that's just my initial thought on it too, because I think that we should be trying to maximize, right? We would be doing it a disservice to not maximize a potential new strategy, right?
Absolutely. Completely and utterly agree. I think we've got to try and make this as profitable as we can by just studying it and doing the research and putting hours into this thing.
Yep. So Dennys,
looking at multiple timeframes.
Sorry, go ahead. Say that again, Tom. I didn't mean to cut you off.
And then looking at multiple timeframes.
Yes. Yeah. What was the reason that initially pushed you to go to multiple timeframes, Dennys? Was it that you realized you're just not a quick decision-making day trader? Like, what was it that is part of it?
That is one part. I noticed that the 1 minute decisions were too fast for me to act on. Even though I can read the D1, like that's so it is easy for me to teach it, right? But when I'm about to do it, it's different. So sure. I noticed that. So the 15-minute 1 hour was like my best timing. I'm like, okay, I can think through this. I can wait for every 15 or every hour and I can make decisions. So the main thing was that I was trading only 15-minute without thinking of the higher time frames, right? And I was getting a lot of losses because I'm only thinking of the 15-minute trend, and maybe on the higher time frames is a bearish trend and the 15-minute just looked bullish.
Right.
And I'm trading against that trend, and I noticed that there was a lot of losses, and I'm like, what's going on? So, doing reviews, journaling, and all that stuff, you start noticing what can you do better? How can you avoid this? And I found out that when you're in trend, and that's why my stop loss is now opened up, which allows me to, if I'm in the bigger picture, all of the high time frames are with me, I am okay putting a structured stop loss, not a day trade stop loss. This is why that UF trade, this exactly micro that you guys see, that's a 17 stop. After I have my big one first, and then I noticed, no, this is a day trade, it's a Friday.
So you tighten it up.
But I still was okay because there's a lot of buffer with ATR.
Right.
And I was able to get it all above 2R based on this new stop loss. And I was out. Basically, I was out on a Friday when it broke the 8. I took the trade off completely. I
see it right
there. It broke the 8 at the end of the year. There. Yeah. And I was out for the Friday.
Yeah.
But it allows me to hold my trades because my stop loss are bigger.
Yeah.
So since my stop loss are bigger, if it goes 1R, that's here. So I'm locking my stop loss, and most of the times I'm not getting touched at break even, or So I think it's just because of the higher time frame.
Back from our quick Wi-Fi switch, Dennys, just to reinforce what you were just talking about, the bigger stop loss kind of ties into what I said before about how you don't necessarily have to get the timing exactly right if you have that bigger stop loss. That was the point that I was going to make before we had to do a little Wi-Fi switch. But you know what I mean? Because then if you're giving it more space, you can read the trend, which is super simple, like I said, with indicators, and then still be right. It just changes the risk reward. But
exactly,
that can still be a winning trading strategy. Did you have anything you wanted to add on that, Tom, before we transition into today's trade?
No, I think Dennys has done a great job of summing it up with that larger stop, and I was just trying to pull it up just to get a visual representation for people. So let me, if I just now go on to the 1 hour with that trade that you took and the original stop. I know it was a Friday, but if this was on a Monday, for example, you could be then looking to take this long.
Yes.
Yep.
And you're catching the larger move without your stop being invalidated. How
do you trust that you're still right when it chops like that? Up, what does that go up? 20 pips in profit, comes back down 20 pips, something like that? 40 pips?
The management, 40 pips. So what I like is if you look at my charts, whoever joins ASFXTV and then looks at my charts, I have EMA clouds because it just reminds me of the cloud is still in an upshift and price is making higher lows. So this is still bullish.
Yeah.
He's supporting the structure until even today's trade. Today's trade, I was able to take it because it followed what I was looking last week.
Makes sense. Okay, so let's talk about today's trade. Do you want to kick us off, Tom? Take us to the 15-minute, or Dennys, whichever guys want to talk? Because I think you both saw this one very similarly too, right?
I think I took it the day before Tom. So Tom took it today. I took it yesterday. So maybe
right.
I start.
Which time frame did you take it on, Dennis?
Let's 1 hour. 1 hour.
Right. So if we go to
same trend, you see that shift candle kind of the 21. It's off the 34 again. You see, there's a pattern.
Yeah,
what I'm looking for.
Wow.
So,
yeah.
So I took my entry at that shift, no, the other one, the shift candle of the 21, right there. Took my entry right there. My stop loss was, I look for my stop loss real quick. That was yesterday straight. My stop loss is 956.30. Oh, right there. Boom.
Pretty bang on.
That's my stop. 37 pips, 38 pips. And I held that all over to 2R. Basically, like it hit TP this morning when I was streaming on ASFXTV. Right there, I was out. Right there.
That's your trade.
It's a great trade.
Yep.
Yeah, look at that. Breakout of this
same
level
trend,
here.
same analysis. And I
High
explain
volume.
about, I like the higher day, the break of resistance, proper RSI value.
The big volume.
No resistance. Yep, we go. And that's why I took my long position and I held there overnight. Take profit was hit when I was sleeping. And this morning is your hit TP2.
Gotta love that,
nice.
bro. Set and forget it.
Nice.
Just kind of let it breathe. That's beautiful. Okay, so now Tom, take us to the 15-minute and show us what you did today, because it looks like you caught like that last little pop up that it's had, right?
Absolutely, yeah. So that's where I have, and again, adding in the higher timeframes, I came to the charts this morning. I went through the higher timeframes. I know that I've got the EMAs in my favor from the 1 hour, 4 hour, and daily, and again, same as before, I'm looking for that sort of the breakout of this
It looks
Asian
so
range.
similar, bro.
Yeah. And then we're pulling back to this 50 EMA. We get the body of that 50. Notice how, as it does pull back, it's on lower volume than the breakout of this range.
Yeah.
And then again, I'm waiting on the 1 minute for the divergence to come in. We get the bullish divergence. I'm then waiting for this upshift on the 8 and 21 EMA. And then I'm just looking for the retest. So we get the retest, it comes off this candle high, comes back down to the 200, bodies the 50, and then it just rips from there.
It's perfect.
Just holds that 8.
Take us to the 1 minute just so we can see that 1 minute divergence so everybody can see.
Yeah.
This one's clean. I like the stop at the divergence low. I really like this a lot because if you zoom in tight on that, you'll see the 1 minute L50 is in the buy zone and has so much space to move when you take the position. Mm-hmm. It's so bullish.
Yep.
Yeah. So yeah, we've got the divergence set in here. You'll see how we go from the RSI low to price action low, the opposing direction of them lines. And then price starts to make higher highs and higher lows on this 1 minute. And this is to Denny's point where you probably do have to be pretty decisive. You have to say, right, this is where I'm going to be and just pull the trigger. So once we break this zone here with this high, then after studying the D1s in detail, I'm looking for then this to hold, and you see we go underneath this 200. So whilst we don't get the 50 EMA, I see this 200 EMA break and back above as being probably more significant. And then we hold it here, and when we push off that, I'm thinking, right, I'm hitting this now, and that's when I got in for my position, and then it's just moved in my direction ever since.
That's a 21 EMA, basically the 200. So you're catching that 21 EMA.
The 15-minute 21 EMA.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Beautiful. Okay, boys, this has been great. I feel like we've covered a lot in today's video. If people want to see more of this, ASFXTV. If you're watching this on YouTube and you want to see this done live and you want to follow these patterns and start to really see how repetitive a systematic trading approach can be, join us at ASFXTV. The link is in the description. We'll put it right here on the screen, www.asfx.tv. Boys, anything you'd like to close it with, or think we're good here?
Oh, yeah, like you said, basically, we went a little bit just quick, but on our videos on ASFX TV, we actually have the details and the reasons and how we manage and everything that we did in the back end to be able to take the trades that we just shared today. So yeah, I think ASFX TV is where you're going to find the most details, basically.
Tom?
Yeah, no, completely agree. Come and hang out, come and see how we are, come and chat to people that are taking these trades day in, day out. Ask us any questions on socials. If you want any answers to anything, please reach out to any of us. We're all here and happy to help. That's what we're doing this for, to help everybody.
Beautiful. Okay, everybody, make sure you subscribe, drop a comment, hit the thumbs up, and hopefully we'll see you very soon in ASFX TV.